Welcome back. We are talking to Professor Hartridge, and one of the interesting topics he mentioned in his lecture is Veve, which are the patterns like the one we found at the voodoo murder crime scene.
Tell me about Veves.
If you'd taken notes during my lecture, you wouldn't have to ask.
Okay. We kind of wanted to ask you about the one we actually found. I guess we have to show him instead.
Have you ever heard of a Schottenjäger?
I'm afraid I can't help you there, Mr. Knight.
I get the impression that a Schottenjäger is not something directly related to voodoo. Then again, considering the context in which we heard about that word, that kind of makes sense. Nobody seems to know what it means, though. Which is annoying.
Tell me about yourself.
All right, Mr. Knight, I'm 35, a fully tenured professor at this university, as well as a fellow at Cambridge. My doctorate was obtained at Syracuse. Yes, Syracuse, in religious studies. I'm an agnostic, but I find human belief systems fascinating. I specialize in African religions because I grew up there. My father was a Protestant missionary. And I am heterosexual, when I practice sex at all, which isn't very often. Any other questions?
No.
Fine.
That was kind of already more than we really wanted to know. Also, tenured professor and fellow at Cambridge at 35. That's quite impressive.
Tell me more about human sacrifice.
It's very rare. Most voodoo practices do not include human sacrifice as a matter of record, but it is theoretically possible if that's the gods' demand. For example, one of the chants I had translated for me from a Haitian ritual went like this. Mistress Erzulie, come and aid us. If a cock is demanded, we will give it. If a bull will suffice, behold it. But if a goat without horns is required for sacrifice, oh, where will we find one? Erzulie is the gentlest of Loa, so they call on her for mercy. But I have seen grown and powerful Hungan tremble before a possession by one of the more violent Loa, such as Papanilo. Clearly, they are afraid that something of the sort will be ordered, or that the Loa will simply take it for themselves.
Nice. Okay, let's see if the good professor knows anything about our Veve.
Can you tell me anything about this pattern?
Wow. Interesting. Very interesting. Mind if I copy this?
Be my guest.
Great. I'll be right back.
That was fast.
Here you go. You know, this is a fascinating Veve. You must tell me all about its origin.
Actually, I was hoping you'd tell me. Can you figure out anything about it from the symbols?
Well, some. That's why I wanted a copy. I want to research the design myself. Each of the symbols in the Veve represents something, a Loa, a place. Where did you get this?
Have you heard of the voodoo murders?
No, you're kidding. Really? Then the voodoo is authentic. The newspapers are wrong. Boy, are they wrong.
You think this Veve is authentic, then?
Authentic? Mr. Knight, that's like asking if the Mona Lisa is a painting.
Is it?
Tell you what, I'll look into these symbols myself and see what I can learn about the sect that made this. I'll give you a call when I have more information. You are associated with the police, aren't you?
Absolutely. But I'm, undercover. You can contact me at the St. George's bookshop in the quarter.
All right. Now, I'd like to get started on this if you don't mind.
Great. And we do associate with a police officer. which is not the same thing as being associated with the police, but it'll have to do. I wonder if he might know something about the photo as well.
Is there anything you can tell me about the voodoo aspects of this photograph?
This is serious voodoo ritual. Nasty stuff.
Very
In what
observant.
way?
Let's see. I can't make out much detail from this photograph. Except for the corpse, of course. But the wound, the face, and what little I can see of the ritual paraphernalia. Reminds me of certain black voodoo practices. Very rare. I've never witnessed them myself, you understand.
Really? Interesting. Thanks.
Well, we can definitely say for certain that these murders are in fact real voodoo, and not fake as the police is intent on believing. But that's all we can get from Hartridge for now. We'll just have to wait until he finishes studying the VV.
I'll see you later.
Goodbye.
Now I think it might be a good idea to go back to Madame Cazaunoux, because she indicated she knew something about Cabrit Saint-Corps, but was unwilling to tell us what it was, unless we already knew what it meant, and now we do. So I'm interested in hearing what she has to say about it. Which does mean, well, we'll have to disguise ourselves again.
All right, but this is private.
And that does include the hair.
The things I do for my art.
Alright. Father McLaughlin back in action.
Yes? Who is it?
It's Father McLaughlin back again, don't you know?
Yes, Father. Come on in. Please be seated, Father.
Thank you.
Now, what can I do for you?
We'd like to talk to you again.
Do you mind if I ask you a few more questions, Madame?
If you wish, Father.
Cabrit
About
Saint-Corps.
Cabrit Saint-Corps.
Well, are you going to tell me what it means, Father?
Yes.
It means goat without horns.
Father, you surprise me. You do know what it means. You know what they mean by goat without horns, don't you? A human being. That's right. Slit your throat, cut out your heart. Pure evil murder.
That, we already knew. Now we can also talk to her about human sacrifice. We've also gotten a new option, actually, Black Voodoo. I think because the professor mentioned that when we showed him the picture.
Do you know anything about black voodoo?
Oh yes, Father. It is the wickedest kind. The kind they practice here in New Orleans.
Really?
Tell me more about black voodoo.
I already told you, Black Voodoo is what they practice here.
But you might want to tell us what it is? I guess not.
Do you know anything about human sacrifice here in New Orleans?
Well, my great-grandmother could tell stories. She saw it. People say that sort of thing wasn't done in New Orleans. But the real voodoo queens did it. Oh yes.
Real voodoo queens? Like people other than Marie Laveau?
Who were the real voodoo queens?
Well, my great-grandmother told me that Laveau was just a front, a flamboyant decoy. She distracted authorities from the real voodoo queen of New Orleans. It's been the same one for almost 200 years. She's head of a secret voodoo en fort. That's what they call their temples, you know. It's so secret, most of the voodoo people in the city don't even know about it. The real voodoo queen controlled Lavaux, gave her a little bit of power, and used her like a puppet.
Really? Now we've opened up the option of Voodoo Hound 4. Real Voodoo Queens actually sounds like kind of a cool band name.
Is there anything else you remember about the real Voodoo Queen?
Well, my great-grandmother said that the real Voodoo Queen was the most beautiful woman on earth. She had the most incredible copper-colored skin.
Why does that make me nervous?
Is there anything else you remember about the real Voodoo Queen?
Well, they are all brides of Satan. Other than that, I can't think of anything.
Does she have anything else to say about human sacrifice?
Can you tell me anything else about human sacrifice?
What is there to tell? They cut your heart out.
How about that Hound 4?
Tell me more about this secret Voodoo Hound 4.
Well, I've never seen it. I wouldn't go near it if you paid me. But it's here in Orleans, I guarantee it. I hear the drums at night, oh yes. That's why I am so ill. I tell you, those drums. But we shouldn't talk about it. They'll hear us. It's the devil's work that happens there, I can tell you. I'll show you something. Something secret. You mustn't tell anyone, Father.
I swear on my collar.
Here it is, mon père. A true object of evil if there ever was one.
It radiates something, alright.
It belonged to my great-grandmother. She told my mother that it was a token to gain entrance to the real voodoo ceremonies.
You don't say.
To tell you the truth, I always felt nervous about having it in the house. You know, evil influence and all.
Oh, I can see how you would, yes.
And yet, I could never part with it. It's been in the family for generations. Would you bless it for me, Father? I feel strange asking such a thing of you, but surely you understand.
Bless this bracelet of a snake, even though its vibes aren't great. Let it do nobody harm when they wear it on their arm. Voodoo spirits, go away, don't come back another day. And now, let us pray.
Silly little rhyme. Let's take a look.
It's a bracelet in the shape of a snake.
If that thing...
I think that's enough, Father.
Oh, right. Here you go.
I wasn't done yet. I think that would be an interesting thing to have. If it gives you access to real voodoo ceremonies and stuff, but I don't think Madame Cazaunoux would just let us walk out with it. So how could we acquire this object? We'll have to find out in the next video.